Good day everyone, most especially to our professor, Mr. Romeo Rosales. I am Paulo Manuel A. Panol, and for this video, me and my partner, Mr. Marco Cartin, are going to discuss and explain to you our topic, which is how to write a research title and research methods, particularly the research design, research instrument, research locale, and also the statistical tool. So without further ado, let's start. Bago tayo magpatungo sa ating tatalakayin tungkol sa kung paano bumuo ng isang research title, balikan muna natin kung ano nga ba ang kahulugan ng pananaliksik o ang research. Kapag sinabing research, ito ay isang proseso na kung saan tayo mga researcher ay kumukuha ng mga iba't ibang kaalaman para makadiskubre ng bagong kaalaman, o di kaya ay masolusyonan ang isang problema na kinakaharap ng ating bansa o ng ating komunidad. Ngayon, ano nga ba ang mga bahagi ng isang research title? Meron itong 4 na bahagi. Ang una ay ang research goal, pangalawa ang independent variable o ang IB, pangatlo ang dependent variable o ang DB, pang-apat ang lokal. Uulitin ko, ang research title na ating tatalakayin ngayong araw ay may 4 na bahagi. Ang una ang research goal, pangalawa ang IB o ang independent variable, pangatlo ang DB o ang dependent variable, at ang huli ay ang research lokal. Ngayon, simulan natin sa pagtalakay tungkol sa research goal. Ano nga ba ang research goal? Sa unang dalawang salita ng ating research title ay makikita natin ang research goal. Ano nga ba ang research goal? Ito ang gusto nating alamin, gustong tuklasin, or gusto nating malaman para sa ating pananaliksik. Pwede tayong gumamit ng mga iba't iba katulad ng the effects, factors affecting, the impact, the relationship. Ito ang mga example na kung saan pwede natin gamitin sa pagbuo ng ating research title. Ulitin ko, ang research goal, ito yung gusto nating alamin, tuklasin, or gusto nating malaman sa ating research na gagawin. Pwede tayong gumamit ng mga salita tulad ng the effects, factors affecting, the relationship, a comparison. Ito yung mga gustong malaman natin sa ating research. Pwede naman tayong gumamit ng isang salita lang tulad ng effects. Pwede na rin natin ito hindi lagyan ng the. Pwede natin gumamit ng relationship. Basta, ang research goal, ito yung gusto nating alamin, gusto nating tuklasin sa ating research na makikita sa unang dalawang salita sa ating research title. Ngayon, mapatungo naman tayo sa pangalawang bahagi ng research title na kung saan ang independent variable. Ang susunod na bahagi ng research title ang tinatawag natin na independent variable or ang IB. Karaniwan ng independent variable ay ang problema na gusto nating tuklasin, na gusto nating imbestigahan. Ano nga ba mga problema sa kasalukuyang panahon ngayon? Lalo na unang-una ay ang COVID-19. Pwede natin gamitin ang COVID-19 para maging independent variable natin. Para naman sa mga estudyante, pwede naman tayo gumamit ng online class. Pwede rin naman ng mga mobile games. Ay, hindi pala. Bilang tip, ang mobile games ay hindi pwede gamitin kasi ito ay masyadong generic. Dapat sa pagkuha natin ng IB, dapat tayo ay maging nakaspecify siya. So ano nga bang mobile games atong gustong imbestigahan? Kasi maraming iba't ibang klase ng mobile games. Pwede tayong mag-specify o mag-focus sa Mobile Legends. So ulitin ko, dapat ang ating independent variable ay nakaspecify at hindi siya nakaging generic. Ngayon, paano naman natin iduduktong ang ating independent variable sa ating research goal sa unang bahagi ng research title? Kung halimbawa ang gusto nating maging goal ay makita ang epekto, so pwede tayong gumamit ng the effects. So, sa ating independent variable, hindi na tayo lalayo since tayo ay nasa field ng education, gagamitin na natin na ang online class. So, the effects of online class. So, magiging ganun yung structure ng ating research title. So, ang unang bahagi ang research goal, ang sumusunod ang IB. Kapag sinabing IB, ito yung mga problema na gusto nating tuklasin or gusto nating imbestigahan. So, ngayon, tayo naman ay dumako sa pangatlong bahagi ng research title kung saan ang dependent variable. Ang pangatlong bahagi ng research title ay tinatawag natin na DB or ang dependent variable. Ngayon, karaniwan, pag sinabi natin DB, ito yung naaapektuhan o hindi kayo natatamaan ng epekto ng independent variable. Ngayon, ano nga ba mga halimbawa ng dependent variable? Ito yung mga respondents na pagkukuhaan natin ng iba't ibang mga datos. Ngayon, sino-sino yung mga respondents na tinutukoy natin? Maaari itong mga estudyante, mga guro, mga politiko, o iba't ibang mga klase ng tao sa ating lipunan. Ngayon, paano naman natin iduduktong itong DB sa ating naunang mga bahagi ng research title na kung saan research goal at ang independent variable? Ngayon, makikita nyo sa ating screen. Ang una natin pinili para sa research goal ay ang the effects. Sumunod, pinili natin na kanina ang online class. Ngayon, Pwede tayong pumili ng ano ba maapektuhan. Syempre, hindi na tayo lalayo ang mga estudyante, students ang ating gagamitin. Ngayon, itong students ito, pwede tayong mag-specify sa anong parte sila naaapektuhan. Pwede tayong gumamit ng academic performance, academic achievement, o skills. So ngayon, gagamitin natin ang academic performance. Paano natin gagamitin ang academic performance? So magiging ganito ang pagbuo nating research title. The effects of online class to the academic performance of BTBT Ed students. The effects sa ating research goal, ang ID natin ay ang online class, to the academic performance of BTBT Ed students, ang ating dependent variable. Uulitin ko, kapag sinabi natin DB o dependent variable, ito yung naaapektuhan o natatamaan ng ating IB o independent variable. So ngayon nakikita nyo sa ating screen kung paano nabubuo, unti-unti nabubuo ang ating binubuong research title. Ngayon, magdako na tayo sa huling parte o huling bahagi ng research title. Ang huling bahagi ng research title ay tinatawag nating lokal o area. Kapag sinabi natin lokal o area, ito yung pagkukuha natin ng mga datos o mga lugar na pagkukuha natin ng datos o kung saan isasagawa ang ating research. Ngayon, paano naman natin, ano ang mga iba't ibang halimbawa ng lokal o area? Pwede sa eskwelahan or sa school, sa barangay, sa community, o pwede rin sa opisina. Basta ang tinutukoy nito ay ang lugar na kung saan isasagawa ang research o ang lugar na kung saan naka-designated ang mga respondents. Ayun, paano naman natin idudugtong itong lokal sa ating binubuo na research title sa baba ng ating screen? Ngayon, ang napili natin ay the effects para sa ating research goal, independent variable, online class, independent variable to the academic performance of BTBT Ed students. Ngayon, pipili tayo, since students natin pinag-uusapan, dapat ang ating lokal ay eskwelahan. Ngayon, syempre hindi na tayo layo kung magbibigay tayo ng halimbawa. CCSA na ang gagamitin natin. So ngayon, nabuo na natin ang research title. The effects of online class to the academic performance of BTBT Ed students in CCSA or Christian College of Southeast Asia. So makikita niyo sa baba ng ating screen, nabuo na natin ang 4 na bahagi ng research title na aking pinapaliwanag sa inyo. Ngayon, uulitin ko mula sa umpisa hanggang sa dulo, may 4 na bahagi ang research title. Ang una, yung research goal na kung saan ito yung gusto nating tuklasin, ito yung gusto nating malaman, ito yung goal natin, ito yung gusto nating matapos sa pagkatapos ng isang research title. Ayun, ang IB naman, ang gusto nating alamin, gusto nating tuklasin or gusto nating makita ang sanhi ng isang problema. Ang dependent variable naman ay ang naapektuhan ng IB o independent variable. Karaniwan ito yung mga estudyante or mga respondents natin. At ang huli namang bahagi ng research title ay ang local o area na kung saan isasagawa ang ating research o ang lugar na kung saan nandoon yung mga respondents natin. So nabuo na natin ang research title. Ngayon, maraming iba't ibang paraan sa pagbuo ng research title, pero yung ipiniliwanag o binahagi ko sa inyo ngayong araw na ito ay isa sa mga madadaling proseso o format upang makagawa tayo ng isang maganda at specific na research title. So meron tayong 4 na bahagi, ang research goal, ang goal natin, ang independent variable, ang ID, ang dependent variable, and ang local. So yun lamang po para sa kung paano gumawa ng isang research title. Ngayon, dumako naman tayo susunod na kung saan ang methods ng research at ang research design. So, let's go. So now let's proceed to another topic, which is the research method. A while ago, we are now done discussing about on how to write a research title. The research title has 4 components. We have the research goal, the independent variable, the IB, the DB, which is the dependent variable, and the last part is the local. So those are the 4 components on how to write a research title. Now we are now proceeding to the next topic, which is the research method. Now, what is meant by research method? We say research method are the strategies, process, or techniques utilized in the collection of data or evidence for analysis in order to uncover new information or create better understanding of a topic. So it involves research design, research instrument, research local, and statistical tool. So in this research method, I'm going to discuss and explain to you the research design. And research instrument, research local, and statistical tool are going to explain and discussed to you by Mr. Michael Cartin, which is my partner. So now, what is meant by research design? It refers to the overall strategy that you choose to integrate the different components of the study in a coherent and logical way. So since we are now focusing in the quantitative design, in the quantitative design we have 4 types of research design. These are descriptive, correlational, comparative causal or quasi-experimental, and the last part is the experimental. So now let's proceed to the descriptive research design. So the first type of the quantitative design is the descriptive research design. When we say descriptive research design, seeks to describe the current status of identified variable. These research projects are designed to provide systematic information about a phenomenon. The researcher does not usually begin with hypotheses but likely to develop one after collecting data. The analysis and synthesis of data provide the test of hypotheses. Now, these are the following examples of descriptive research design. Number 1, a description of the tobacco use habits of teenagers. Number 2, a description of the extent to which elementary teacher use math manipulative. And lastly, a description of how parents feel about the 12-month school year. So these are the following research title for the descriptive research design. So in the descriptive research design, one variable was identified, and it is not built on a hypothesis in the start of the research, but after collecting data, therefore there will be a hypothesis, and then through analysis and synthesis of data provide the test of the hypothesis. So that is the descriptive research design. So now let's proceed to the correlational research design. Another type of quantitative research design is what we call the correlational research. When we say correlational research, it attempts to determine the extent of relationship between two or more variables using statistics data. In this type of design, relationship between and among a number of facts are sought and interested. This type of research will recognize trends and patterns in data, but it does not go far in the analysis to provide causes for the observed patterns. So it only show what are the relationship between two or more variable if if the independent variable influence dependent variable, but does not require or can show what are the causes of the effects or any impact of independent variable to the dependent variable. So these are the following examples of correlational research. So first is the relationship between intelligence and self-esteem. Next is the relationship between diet and anxiety. And lastly, the covariance of smoking and lung disease. So now let's proceed to another type of quantitative research design. Another type of the quantitative research design is what we call the causal comparative or the quasi-experimental. It attempts to establish the cause and effect relationship among the variables. These type of design are very similar to true experiments, but with some key differences. An independent variable is identified but not manipulated by the experimenter, and the effects of the independent variable on the dependent variable are measured. So in this, the dependent variable are measurable by the independent variable. So these are the following examples of causal comparative and quasi-experimental research design. So we have the effect of preschool attendance on social maturity at the end of the first semester, the effect of age on lung capacity, and lastly the effect of gender on algebra achievement. So let's proceed to the last type of quantitative research design. The last type of the quantitative research design is what we call the experimental research. Experimental research, often called as the experimentation, uses a scientific method to establish the cause and effect relationship among a group of variables that make up a study. An independent variable is manipulated to determine the effects on the dependent variable. So in this type of experimental research, is the independent variable was manipulated to determine the effects on it to the dependent variable. So these are the following research titles, examples of research title under the experimental research. We have the effect of a new treatment plan on breast cancer, the effect of positive reinforcement on attitude towards school. We also have the effect of teaching with a cooperative group strategy or a traditional lecture approach on students' achievement. So that would be all for the quantitative research designs. We have the 4 types, such as the descriptive research, the correlational research, the causal comparative or quasi-experimental research, and experimental research. So these 4 quantitative research design differs from each other, from its structure and also on how they will going to interpret or analyze the different data they have been collected. So that will be all for my part, as we are all done discussing about the research on how to write research title, the research methods, and the research design. So for the continuation, Mr. Marco Cartin are going to introduce and explain to you the research instrument, research local, and also the statistical tool. So that will be all. I am Paul Manuel Panang. Thank you very much for listening. So let's continue to the report of Mr. Mark Hill Cartin.
Hello everyone, good day, especially to our ADA 15 subject professor, Mr. Rosales. Good day, sir. By the way, my name is Mark Hill Fabella Cartin, and I'm going to continue the report of Mr. Panal. So my assigned topics are the research instrument, research local, and the statistical tool. So right now, let's start first with the research instrument. So what is this research instrument all about? So it is a tool used to obtain, measure, and analyze data from subjects around the research topic. You need to decide the instrument to use based on the type of the study that you are conducting, whether if it is quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method. For instance, for a quantitative study, you may decide to use questionnaire, and for a qualitative study, you may choose a scale, right? Then, while it helps you to use an established instrument, as its efficacy is already established, you may, if needed, use new instrument or even create your own instrument. You need to describe the instruments used in method section to the. Here are some of the examples if we talk about research instruments. So we have questionnaires, checklists, distribution, interview, records, experimental approach, and survey approach. So those are some of the examples of research instruments. So why is it important to choose the right or exact type of research instrument in your research? It is very important so that you can collect data in exact on what research that you are conducting. Like for example, if the type of research that you are conducting is quantitative, so basically the type of research that you are using is not questionnaire or all about. So you are gonna more on scales. On the other hand, if your research is if your research type is qualitative, so it's all about questionnaires or surveys. So it is very important to choose the correct one so that you come up good answers from all of those questions that you have. Alright, so let's move on to the next one, the research local. So what is this research local all about? So this discusses the place or settings of the study. It describes in brief the place where the study is conducted. Only important features which have the bearing on the present study are included. So if we talk about research local, so it is the place where you conduct your study. So in one of the experience that we have before, so we are just required to conduct a study only in our school. Therefore, our research local is only in our school. But another example of that, like for example, it is a case study, then you go to the specific universities, you go to the specific places or some of the indigenous area. So in what settings that where you conducted your research, so that's what we call the research local. And why is it important to include this research local? Research local would be our, it can be the credibility of the research and the people living in that specific place. That would be gonna be our respondents. And now let's move on to the last part or the last topic, which is the statistical tools statistical tools. So if we talk about statistics, so statistics are mathematical computation used to analyze data, and tools of statistical analysis can use to create, compare, and analyze data. So these various tools are very common in analyzing the data, and one basic examples of that are is getting the mean or the mode or the median of all those data that you are collected. After compiling all the data that you get using the research instrument, so this is the time that you're gonna use the statistical tools in solving the survey in solving the research that you conducted. And also another example of these statistical tools is getting the standard deviation and arithmetical average of all the data that you get. So that would be all. Thank you so much for listening.